Now we're talking about buy-ins. Early on this week, starting center from Alabama, Parker Brailsford, went on and talked about players buying in more. He came over with Coach DeBoer, so he understands who Coach DeBoer is. But still talking about buying in, Mook, what's your concern meter right now on this? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So players buying in to Alabama, or still buying in to Alabama going into year 2.
I'm going to go 4 on this one. The main reason why is because the new coach, you still got a lot of guys there who he didn't recruit. So it's like, I didn't come here to play for you. And then you look at the way the season ended last year against Michigan and just not getting it done against a team that didn't even have a quarterback. I mean, it was just all bad. So that's why I made the comment a few weeks ago that the first 3 to 4 games of this season are going to dictate how this season goes and whether this team stays together or they fall apart. Because, again, I don't think that they've gotten to that point yet. Now, they go out and they beat Michigan in a somewhat dominant fashion. I think that team comes together and they have a building block to build upon. But that loss to Michigan, it was almost like, where do we go from here?
Right.
So my level of concern is going to be a 4. And again, I think that starts with how the season starts. Funny thing about it, I see Peter Warwick yesterday. So, hey, Pete, you know we coming, right? So listen, they better not damn disappoint me in Tallahassee because I was talking some crap to Pete yesterday.
Mook, how much you got down, bro? What'd you put down? How much you put down? I know you ain't talking.
Man,
you showing the bills.
Hey man, listen, that ain't important. Listen,
okay, gotcha.
Just know, but that trip to Tallahassee is going to be pivotal in whether these guys continue with the buy-in process or B lose all hope because you're looking at a Florida State team that was god awful last year.
2011.
God awful.
2011.
You start the season off and you struggle with this team or you lose to this team, you're talking about a mental breakdown on all levels. There's no way in hell you can let that happen. Because, again, 2011, look at what Georgia did to them the previous season when they were talking about the playoffs.
60 burger on the Mook.
Right. So my level of concern right now is a 4. I think that's and the main reason why I say that, though, because you hear so many players addressing it right now.
Right.
How we're buying it. So what happened last year? Nobody was buying. So what was the culture like? So what are y'all really trying to clean up? I've never heard so many players talk about buying in.
Right. That should have been year 1 conversation, not going year 2. And again, Parker saying that, I get it because he's one of Kalen DeBoer's guys. He came over from Washington with Coach DeBoer. So you understand who Coach DeBoer is. Go ahead.
And who was the other one who's been leading that charge? Germie
Bernard. Which is good. Which is good because let me see. Washington. So you're saying that you haven't heard that from a Bama Nick Saban recruit. So is that why your concern meter is that high?
If it's the guys who came from Washington leading the charge on the player buy-in, you're going to need the guys who were there before you on the same page. And I think there's a lot more of them than y'all.
Well, Tim Keenan has also been the one that's also tried to bridge that gap in terms of buying into the new culture of what Coach DeBoer and, again, I'm going to always say it, Courtney Morgan, pivotal piece in this whole entire rebuild and reconstruction of the roster at Alabama. General managers are the second most important hire in portion in being a part of a winning program. And if anybody's out there that's looking for a consultancy, okay, understand that Smoke v. Dixon management is wide open, and we're ready to come in, help you with NIL packaging, roster construction understanding, team building, recruiting, and personnel. I'm here, and I'm real simple. Contact Smoke. I'm all over internet. I'm all over social media. Coach V. Dixon on X. DM me. I'll contact you. You get with my people. We'll work it out. All right, Mook, so here we go.
Are we like a package deal, though? Can I be like the IT consultant or something? Can I?
Listen, Mook, 20-second timeout. Let's hit this. TV timeout. You remember when Red used to come out there and scream, TV timeout, and hold the X up? That's what we're doing right now. Listen, we're constantly smoking everywhere that we go. So, yes, you're a part of that. You're going to set up the whole thing. Make sure that nobody can jump in. crash our system, get into our system, get any information that we don't want out. Marvin Constant, you're part of it. You just gotta package that thing with me, and I'll give you that percentage that we're working on. But my concern meter, I'm at a 5 right now. And like I said, the Smoke v. Dixon management consultancy agency, first step and rule 1 is you have to get the buy-in of your best players day one. Because that's typically the last piece that comes in play when you're trying to win pivotal and important games. Like Bama winning 9 games, talent-wise, you're supposed to do that. But Bama getting to the playoffs, Bama winning a national championship, player buy-in is the most important part because you're trying to bridge and merge 2 teams together. The team that came over with Coach DeBoer from Washington, Nick Saban's crew, and really 3, the group that was trying to leave but got held back or got kept back. That's the Caden Proctors of the world that was on their way out but probably stayed. Kendrick Laws of the world that probably was on their way out but stayed. So you're trying to get 3 groups together to come together as one. So the first thing that you do, you have to get that together first. Forget your playbook, forget ice creams, forget days of feeling good. You have to get the buy-in and trust. And when I hear buy-in, all I know is culture and trust. And culture is just doing the things that you want your players to do and your players trusting you, that you have their best interest at all times. Mook, you and I both went through a process like this when we got recruited by Coach Dubose. I played 2 years for Coach Dubose. You were there, for 3 with Coach Dubose?
Yeah.
3. And then Coach Fran comes in. Coach Fran comes in, and we go 8-5. Could we have won 10 games? Absolutely, yes. But a lot of that pushback was because as detailed and as organized as Coach Fran was back then, he struggled with communicating with young people like you and myself.
You know
and
what?
We resisted everything that he wanted to do. Go ahead.
I'll tell you a story about that most people don't even know.
Story time.
When Coach Fran came in, I had my knee injury, and we had Dr. Seuss there at the time who wasn't worth a crap.
You don't want to mention his name?
Well, we all know we're talking about Les Fowler here. I don't care. He did a horrible job. He shouldn't have been allowed to cut paper, let alone people, but that's a story for a different day.
Mr. 50-50.
No, it wasn't even 50-50. Ooh. 5.95. He was more on the 5 side than the 95 side. But I was going through. And as a young man, I'm still trying to figure out my life. And all I know is I've had this horrible doctor do this horrible job on me. I go to my high school team doctor before Dubose and crew leave, and he scopes me and he tells me what's wrong with my knee. And he's like, ACL halfway attached, medial meniscus still hanging, your articular cartilage he didn't touch. You didn't align your kneecap properly. Like, it was a complete shit show. So while I'm in recovery, Dr. Barano calls Dr. Andrews. That's how I ended up with Dr. Kane and Dr. Andrews. From my high school team doctor's like, hey, this kid is screwed. Y'all need to fix him. So during that time is when Dubose gets fired, and here comes Franchione. Now, I'm still trying to figure my life out as a young man.
Right.
And one of the first meetings I had with Franchione, you know what he says to me? We're going to give you a medical DQ, and you're just going to have to go figure life out.
Wow.
So, no, I never bought in, because my first conversation with you can't be you telling me you're going to give me a medical DQ when I'm trying to figure my life out, and our team doctor just screwed me, and I'm sitting here just like, no, this needs to be corrected. And all you're concerned about is giving me a medical DQ so that you can have that one scholarship back in your account.
Right.
So from the word go, no, I did not like that man. I had nothing for him. So I didn't care whether his team succeeded or not, because you pissed me off from the first meeting I had with you.
Right. Wow, Mook, that's a, you know what? You never shared that with me. And if you did, I probably would have had more ammunition for Fran in every one of our conversations.
Yeah.
Mook, I don't know if Fran had it out or got into more verbal conversations with anybody more than with me, because I was invested in the University of Alabama. I was never invested with Fran early, but I got a story for you. My story is probably a little bit different. And we'll get back into the whole buy-in portion. We sidetracked a little bit, but Fran comes in, and you remember every one of Fran's shirt. I wish I had one around here. It was everything said, "Have a fantastic day. You made it through a fantastic camp." Everything had Fran on it. And I remember me and Kendall Moorhead, and all of us sitting around. And you know me, if it was something that needed to be said, I rarely held it back. I wasn't gonna MF any adult because I was raised better than that with manners and respect. But I was gonna voice my opinion. So we're sitting in the locker room. You remember how the locker room is set up numerically, 1 through 35, and on so in our old locker room. And the equipment room was across from our locker room. So I'm sitting there, Boogie sitting next to me, Dude sitting next to me, AC and Zal, we're all sitting there. And I never wore any of that stuff. So Fran got wind of me not wanting to wear it. So he comes into our space, which is the locker room. So once you step in our space, you are on my terms because it's my turf. I run this, not you. Go upstairs in your own building. I won't come upstairs and say it in your office. But he comes in and he's like, "Smoke, I heard that you don't like any of my shirts. You don't wear them." I said, "Yep, not gonna." "Why not?" I said, "Everything has Fran on it. I signed my letter of agreement to the University of Alabama. And if it doesn't say B-Sci-Fi, University of Alabama, that's what I signed up for. But it had your name on it. I ain't doing it." We used to give out those t-shirts. I had a pile of them in my locker. I said, there goes all of them right there. And I'm not putting not one of them on. So he walks across. He said, "Okay, you want to do that? F it," and started talking. I said, "Listen, dude, all that talking, I'm still not going to put it on." He said, "Well, I got one for you. So he goes into Tank's office, gets like 3-4 of those t-shirts, cuts out the Fran in all those t-shirts and throws it at me. I caught all of them. Bop, bop, bop. Like the Matrix moved. Balled them all up, threw it right, hit him in his face. I thought that was going to be it for me at the University of Alabama. But what that did was it sparked a conversation with he and I. And I never wanted to get that way. He said, "Well, he said, come on up to my office." I went up to his office. So we sat down and had a really good conversation. And from that point on, he understood it's not about you. It's about us. And it's not us only, the players. It's us as the University of Alabama football team. And the more that you're speaking and just pointing the light and wanting to be an arrogant, pompous ding, ding, bing, 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 it has nothing to do with you and more to do with us of wanting to invest in what you want to do. Because again, Fran was maybe the best coach I've ever been around. But he didn't understand that we didn't buy into him and we were just going out there and playing. So from year 1 to year 2, we almost knocked off the number 1 team my senior year just because you saw that change of us now buying into whatever Coach Fran was selling just because he started investing in us. Yeah. So if I had to give any advice to any new coach going in, make sure you go in, throw away that ego of me, and this is my big time job, and look at the players first and your surrounding and just the structure that they were around before you got there, and do your best to make it more player centric, team centric, group centric, community centric, and you'll get the best out of your team instead of saying, if you guys don't do it my way, or one of the leaders like yourself saying that I want you out before I give you a chance to come in.
He had horrible people skills when he came in.
You give him a compliment when you just said horrible.
Horrible. So what I'm saying is when you speak of buy-in, like that conversation that he had with me, I understand what he wanted to do, but it could have went so many other different ways and have been a productive conversation, because I left that team that spring and I didn't want to be a part of it.
Right. And you were one of our leaders.
That's why I left. Yeah. Whereas if he was like, we want you to still be a part of this. I understand you're going through what you're going through. What can we do to help you to where you
figure
can
it
still
out?
Be a productive? Right. There was no conversation about figuring out anything. It was just, we're going to put you on a medical DQ, and that was it. And I was like, that's how you feel about it? That's fine. Because I don't want to play for a jackass like you either.
And as crazy as that sound, I just don't think a lot of coaches understand like the psyche of a young man that just basically had their whole entire hopes and dreams of being an NFL linebacker, a college star that you were becoming, like taken away. And now you don't have any compassion of just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you a gentle letdown. We'll rehab you. We'll figure it out. If at worst, if it ever comes to a medical red shirt, we'll get there. But I would never have mentioned that to you. But being on the opposite side of it, Marvin.
He went to medical DQ, not even a red shirt.
Yeah. But just being on the other side of it, on the managerial side of it, being a general manager and wanting to create scholarships, I understand what he tried to do. But that's where I tell people, and even young aspiring personnel, guys or girls, that when you go into the business, yes, it's cool to understand the players from the physical aspect side of it, but you also have to be able to be a people's person, because we're in a people pleasing and a people understanding business. Like, it's a people business before it is a personnel business. Personnel just means understanding the ones that you have around you and put them in the best position to make plays for you. And if you want to be really good in personnel, understand the mentality and the mindset of the athlete before you start putting forth all the energy towards just the physical and the athletic side.
He said, I want to involve you somehow in the coaching staff and utilize your football IQ.
Right.
You're right there on the ground with these guys. You see what they see. I would have been a valuable add at that.
He wasn't a forward thinker, Marvin. He wasn't a forward thinker.
Yeah.
He wasn't a forward thinker because he came in, Marvin, wanting to change everything. You remember he wanted to change our jersey. He wanted to change the sideline that we're on, which, again, he's right, because you and I both know we cooked at home games. I would rather be on the opposite side. So when he said that, it made sense. But he came in just guns blazing, and he just had success at TCU. He had LaDainian Tomlinson and, all that good stuff that he had going on. But I just wish that he would have pumped the brakes and leaned on us in terms of the leaders and the guys that had the ears and the heart and the mind of the team in order for us to get past that 9 or 8 win season and really get back into the 10. Because we had talent. We just didn't buy in, and we didn't want to do any of the stuff. It was so much pushback. The guys on offense hated the offense that they were running. We hated the defense. And what's Coach Torbush, our first DC?
Torbush.
Yeah, Coach Torbush was a good defensive coordinator, but even with that, Coach Torbush wasn't able to run what he wanted to run because Fran wanted some of his stuff. Because the guy that was coming over with us was
Gary Patterson.
Gary Patterson. Slipped my mind. Gary Patterson was there for a day. I don't know if you remember. Because you remember when we had that first Saturday workout, I want to say Coach Patterson was there because he was the one that was doing the rolling around on the ground and doing all that other stuff. But he wanted to run that 4-2-5 defense that they were famous for. But that wasn't really Coach Torbush's defense. Coach Torbush was the
4-3.
over 4-3 old school system that he was bringing over from North Carolina. So just trying to bridge all of that, it was a lot of pushback. It was even a lot of pushback on the staff, and we felt the tension. Because one of the coaches I'm really close to till this day is Coach Thurman. And that whole staff and I, we're very close to this day. But we felt it that they didn't truly care about Fran either, because Fran was, you talk about, like, I didn't even think those guys slept. It's like an ongoing joke. There's only like 2 mammals that can sleep standing up. One was Mark Tomadol and a horse. Because he'd be in there. Fran had them guys in there all day, but not to beat up Coach Fran anymore, but just the investment part of the player and coach means a ton, and it's the fastest way to get to success in winning games. Marvin, I'm going to have you wrap it up for the first episode of Constantly Smoking, because you're the one that bring the heat. But I'm Smoke Dixon, Marvin Constant. Marvin, give us a good word, man. Let's get up out of here.
Here's the thing I'm gonna say to you, brother. I'm looking forward to seeing how Alabama closes out the spring and what exactly that's going to look like or not look like. Everybody has all these theories, but at the end of the day, I just want to see everybody finish spring healthy and happy, man, and continue to build upon what they started. Because again, from here, you can only go one or two ways, and I'm praying it's up.
Yeah, you're only praying it up so you can make those crazy bets. That's all.
And I love Alabama, man. Come on, you know that.
Yeah, you're a Bama guy. You're unlike me. I'm a transplant. I was dropped in there. You're born in there.
Damn right. I grew up selling Cokes in that stadium. Hey, well, that's all we got for you, good people. We out.
Like and subscribe. Hit that button, Mook. We got to get money.
Hit the button.